Okay, so for this final project, I'm going to be comparing two different jobs. And one of these jobs is a football coach, whether that's at the college level, high school level, professional level, and a developmental specialist, which is also a trainer or a skill trainer. So, as I've found throughout this research, these jobs are a lot more similar than I would have ever expected. I would have never expected that a coach and a developmental specialist have a lot of the same qualities. And with that being said, I would like to go into the points of the project, the points of us doing this. First off, knowledge wise, a coach and a developmental specialist, they have to have the same bits and pieces of knowledge. And these things range anywhere from knowledge of who you're dealing with, what type of player that you are dealing with, and it's the same with these two jobs because with the coach you have to know what kind of player you're dealing with so that you can get through to them so that you can coach them. And with the developmental specialist, it's the same way. You're training. You're not doing all the same things as a coach, but you are still training them and trying to get them to where they want to be, where they hired you to get to. And you have to know what type of person they are, how they respond to coaching, what kind of player they are, all sorts of things. And next, for the skills are also very similar between a football coach and a developmental specialist or a trainer. These are very similar in a lot of ways. First off, for a coach, when it comes to skills, you have to be able to cooperate. You have to have patience. You have to know how each individual player works. And that's the same as a developmental specialist. You have to have skills to work with these players to teach them the things they want to do. Ability wise, coaches and developmental specialists are very similar in that aspect too in abilities because coaches have to have the ability to impact the player's future. They have to have the ability to make somebody want to listen to them. They have to have the ability to give everything they have to their players to make them buy into the team. And a developmental specialist is very similar in that aspect. They have to have the patience. Not when you're training somebody, they're not going to get it right the very first time. You have to put work in. You have to be patient with them. And that's one thing that I found very interesting, that coaches and developmental specialists have a lot of the same skills. They have to have the same skill set. And one major difference that I've found throughout this research, and like I said before, there's a lot of similarities between these two positions, but one major difference, one thing that is not similar at all, is the pay. Developmental specialists get paid, I believe it was about $80,000 a year, and coaches get anywhere from the starting off salary is about 35,000 a year to about 45,000 a year, and that's just for high school. I'm talking at the high school level as of right now. Once coaches get up into college and professionals, they're anywhere from the 500,000s to the millions. And when it comes to the regional aspect of these two different jobs, both of these jobs are wanted in a lot of different places across the country. There's a lot of jobs for these two things. And there's so many different athletic programs, and each athletic program has a developmental specialist and a coach, not just one coach, but multiple coaches, and they're wanted everywhere. And the outlook that a developmental specialist and a coach have, they have to have the same outlook. They have to have the same positive outlook and be open and willing to teach, willing to coach, willing to help these young players out. And another similarity, both of these jobs will be employed in the same organizational structure. They will both be employed on a coaching staff. And one difference with that is the developmental specialists, they can be independent. A developmental specialist can have their own training. They can have their own training program. And the education that is required for these, they both have to have a bachelor's degree. That's just how it is. Both need a bachelor's degree. And interesting facts that I've found about these, I would say I would say an interesting fact about coaches is they have a really big impact on their players, like whether they see it or not. My personal experience, my high school coach, he's the reason that I'm in this major. He's the reason that I would like to do these jobs because he had such a big impact on me. An interesting fact about developmental specialists would be that they're not only working with one player. They're working with multiple different players, trying to do multiple different things, and they're still good at their job. They still help these players out, and I found that very interesting. Coaches don't necessarily have to have any certifications other than a degree, but a developmental specialist must have a training certificate. I'm sorry, a training certificate to be able to train these players the correct way, to get their money's worth. And in my personal opinion, I think going into this project, I thought that I wanted to be a coach, but from the personality test and all of the other stuff we've done throughout this semester, I found it more likely that I could be going into developmental specialist because that seems to fit what I want to do with my life more and more. And I would recommend anybody to look at both of these jobs and see the similarities. Like they're not completely different from each other. So if you're considering one of these two jobs, I feel like if you're a fit for a coach, you're a fit for a developmental specialist as well. And I want to thank you guys for listening to what I have to say and listening to these facts that I have found about these two jobs. Thank you.